So standing behind me is the Oscar Taylor home, or the Stephenson County Historical Society. And it was built in 1857. Many of us call it the Oscar Taylor home. Many people lived in the Oscar Taylor home, and many people died in the Oscar Taylor home. There have been many stories, from the upstairs to the downstairs, all the way to the basement. And we're going to go in and check some of these out. I hope I come out.
Go first.
I am ready to learn.
Quite got that set up there.
Yeah, I got all set and ready to go.
Hi.
This is the Oscar Taylor home.
I brought my computer over here before we started, if you'd like to hear a couple EVPs that have been captured in the house.
That would be amazing.
We would love that. So
is that off the... Is that
no, trust me. Are you kidding me? That's going to get people here.
Okay. There's two really good ones, so...
Awesome.
This was taken in 2014 when, so do you know Wyatt Herman?
I do.
Okay, so he has a little paranormal group called NICE, Northern Illinois something.
Okay.
And they, normally in normal Octobers, we have what's called a paranormal dinner. And so we have a really nice dinner for about 18 guests in the dining room. And then after the dinner, they get a paranormal tour with Wyatt and his group. And this, I gotta find him. My volume isn't as good as... This isn't long, so it just takes me a minute to find
So
it.
what am I listening for
Well,
here?
you're not... Oh, wait, this one, I think this one might... I've got to find him, and then I'll point it out.
Okay. So these are sounds?
There's the music room.
Okay. So this was... You'll hear me say there's the music room, and then you'll hear someone else go, oh, the music room, and then you'll hear this little whisper, they're on their way. And that was not anybody in the room saying that. Okay? So you got to get kind of close to the...
Now you're not going to have something jump out at me here,
No,
are you?
no,
Okay.
no.
All right.
Music room.
Did you hear
Oh
that?
my God, I heard that.
That was another one. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was not anybody in the room.
Oh.
And then there's some of these I don't even remember. They're so subtle I don't even remember. Yeah. This one I don't remember.
There's the music room.
They're on their way again.
Yep.
So when that individual said they're on...
There's one more I want you. I think this might be. Yeah, there it is. So you're gonna hear the people talking, and then all of a sudden you hear a whisper, there is no worry, or there is no hurry. We can't quite tell, but okay. Did you hear that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Because the voices, the paranormal group are kind of quiet too, so it's hard to... Oh, no. Go a little further back. These are so short. Hear that?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yep.
So basically, as we're listening to this, I'm hearing two different voices.
Mm-hmm. And some of them are the people in the room and everything, but they were very, listening to it like the next week. We could.
What were they
figure-
saying about it?
Oh yeah, those were definitely unexplainable voices.
Yeah.
And when I heard the two unexplainable voices, if I'm correct, with the whispers, one sounded like a woman and another one sounded like a man. Am I correct?
Yep. Yep. And the thing that I kind of like about it is the fact that it's like they're at the party with us. It's not like, "Ooh, get out of here,"
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. Although there was one time when I think one of them asked, "Would you like us to leave?" and they said yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But politely.
Then you listen.
All right. Then,
So-
sure. Okay. Well, we would like to know a little bit about
Okay.
everything.
Totally good.
So this is the Oscar Taylor home, and it was built in 1857 or 8. I always get those mixed up. But anyway, Oscar Taylor built the house, his wife Melvina, and then they had their oldest daughter was Lizzie, their second oldest daughter was Winnie, and then they had a son, Oscar Jr., and another daughter, Carissa, and they also had an adopted son who was their nephew, actually, John Taylor. And so all these kids grew up in the house. Carissa moved away, got married, married a man named Frank Bass, and they moved away to Lincoln, Nebraska for about 10 years, but then they came back and lived the rest of their life in their house, in this house. The oldest daughter, Lizzie, got married and moved to Iowa or Nebraska, somewhere over there. They came back, she was sick. They had one child, and she died at 35, and her husband and daughter remained and lived in this house. There was a lot of people living in this house, and a lot of people died in this house too. So most of the family members, we can figure everyone but Lizzie's husband, Jerome, as far as we know, died in the house, along with the wife of a curator later in the 1980s who also passed away in this house.
Interesting.
Wow.
But back in, the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was pretty much typical to have the funeral in the home and all of that. So this is a typical Victorian house. I should say the second daughter, Winnie, never married, and she lived here her whole life. So the son, Oscar Jr., he moved away, but the adopted son, John, he stayed in Freeport, and we do have a record that he died in this house also. He had tuberculosis, and they took care of him at the end. So a lot of, but there's also a lot of happiness in this house. People were they named the house Bohemiana because they were very artsy and free-spirited, and they loved their gardens and their animals. They were such animal people. Winnie was a cat person, and she loved her cat so much that she had a special ramp built from the second floor window to the ground so that her cats could come and go as they pleased. So there was a lot of happiness here. And when Carissa died, in her will, she left $5,000 to start a historical society. And she left the house to her two grandnephews, which would be Oscar Jr.'s sons. But she strongly encouraged them, if they were not going to live in the house, that they donate it as a museum. So they wanted this to be a museum. So they're not sad we're here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and we've taken care of it for them ever since. So I think
Awesome.
they're okay with it. So we have the house decorated. We don't have a ton of original pieces, but we have the house decorated as it would have looked around the 1860, 1870 period. The dining room set actually was a gift from W.T. Rowley. He purchased this set of furniture at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City and donated it to the Historical Society. Our Christmas cactus over here is over 100 years old. At the time the Taylors were living, I should say no other people lived here but the Taylors. Elsie, the last granddaughter who lived here, died in 1944, and the sons gave it to the Historical Society. So it went from being a private residence of the Taylor family to a museum in less than a year.
With all of this wonderful information you're giving me, I'm going to ask every once in a while a little spooky thing and
Sure,
see.
I will.
So you've heard sounds in here, but in this room per se, do you have any stories per se in this room at all?
I don't have any stories in this particular particular room, but if we step over in the hallway, right about 10 feet from us, I do. Over here in the hallway, this grandfather clock here does not work. It has been looked at a couple of times. It has not been able to be fixed, but every now and then it will chime. And I don't know if there is some logical explanation that something could be triggering it, but it does just kind of chime. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even, oh yes, it does have the weights, but it's, I don't know. Somebody looked at it once and said there's even something missing in there that makes it unusual that it would just go off. Now my first, one of my first personal experiences in the house was after that event where we recorded those sounds. The guests had all left, and it was just myself, my husband, and the 3 people who were with the paranormal, 4 people who were the paranormal team. And I thought I had turned all the paranormal group likes to get ready in the basement. I guess maybe the mood or something, I don't know. But anyway, the lights were on down there, and I thought I turned them off, but I came over and they were back on. So I started walking towards the door, and I heard steps on the feet walking on the stairs.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
And it's kind of a weird phenomenon. I couldn't really tell whether it was going down or if it was up here, but it kept going. And I said, is anybody down there? Nobody answered, and I saw, and I'm like, come over here. And they came, and everybody heard it. Everybody heard definitely steps. Some of them thought it was down here. Some of them thought it was someone coming down here. It was kind of odd. You couldn't really pin yourself to where the sound was coming from, but it was definitely steps. And 2 of the group, the paranormal group, ran down the stairs. And when they got to the bottom of the stairs, the one fellow, he got there a little early, and he heard a little girl giggle. And that is not the first reference I have heard to a little girl giggling down there. Totally different parties that don't know each other, have nothing to do with each other, have said that they've heard a little giggle. And then I think we heard that little, and I don't know if you'd call that a giggle or not, but that ha ha ha. So there's somebody who likes to laugh here, I guess.
Let's have them keep laughing.
There we go.
This is the room that contains the most of the original Taylor objects. Carissa was an artist, and she created this, it's called the Illuminated Manuscript. Songs of the Century was the title of the book. She spent 28 years creating the artwork that goes into this book. And actually, what we do now, we got a grant to digitize it, so because we can't be showing everybody every page. So now what we do is we have it running on a loop so people can see all the beautiful artwork that is in the book.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. The music room, which is the famous, they're on their way.
Oh, goodness.
This is where we were standing when that little EVP came through. So we kind of like to think that perhaps maybe some of them are still in this room. The portraits are of the Webster family. They really weren't related to the Taylors, but they were contemporaries of the Taylors, lived both, all living in Freeport, and we just thought they enhanced the room.
I'm always majorly positive when it comes to a place where there are spirits and whatever, but I will always get a feeling. When I was at the Masonic Temple, I got a major feeling in an area. And when I walked in here, before you said they're on their way, I am feeling something in this room. It's
not bad, is it?
No, it's not a bad feeling at all. It's a good feeling. It's a full feeling. It's cool. It's a cool feeling. Like something is here, and it's crazy.
Well, when I first started as director here, I was a little freaked out about the whole ghost thing. And the reason there's nothing in that, that clock is out being repaired. It's not any kind of weird thing that we have. But anyway, I was a little freaked out about the idea of coming in here and having some experience. And so the first time that I had to come over by myself, I had to go upstairs and get something. And I had kind of, by the time I got in and I was up the stairs, I wasn't even thinking about the ghost thing anymore. And I got up to the top of the stairs, and I can't explain it, but I just had this sense that it sounds really weird, like someone was welcoming me. Like they were like, we're glad you're here. I just got this feeling of warmth. And people say that every time they come into this house, that this house has a good feeling.
It does.
They feel really welcomed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so,
Ever caught these jingling or jangling at all right here?
no.
No?
I can't say that I have.
Okay.
My other experience that I had was in the gift shop. I was working late one day redoing the gift shop, and I live in an old house that has odd things happening, so I kind of know certain things. It's something. The house is settling. That's what my mother used to always say. But I was in the gift shop, and it was getting late. It was late summer, so it was still light, about 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I heard something in the house that sounded like someone slammed it sounded to me like someone slammed a pile of books down. And I was like, okay, well, that was probably outside or something like that. Didn't pay any attention to it. And then it happened again. And I was like, okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That one is kind of iffy on the well, it could be, This is what's called we call the gentleman's parlor. So it would be where the men would come to retire at the end of the after dinner, and they talk politics and smoke their cigars and things like that. And this though, as Melvina grew older, this was her room. So she couldn't climb the stairs anymore. And someone who worked here before me said they gave a tour to someone who said that they were kind of like a sensitive or a medium what's the word I'm trying to say? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they came in this room and they felt the presence of a man in here.
Had Abraham, I see many pictures of Abraham Lincoln, of course, and it was around 1858. It was around 1858. Did Stephen Douglas or Abraham Lincoln ever come to this home?
If one of them did, it would have been Abraham Lincoln. Melvina, the story is, and sometimes you have to figure out what's fact and what's legend. The story was that Abraham Lincoln would have stayed here with the Taylor family, except that Melvina was 8 months pregnant with Oscar Jr. But then I've heard other stories that she attended the debate. So I don't know. He may have come and visited. We do have the chair here that he sat in at the Brewster Hotel, supposedly when one of the newspapers interviewed him.
Oh, wow.
And so I will take you upstairs and tell you my favorite story.
Oh, here we go.